Pat and I are standing at the edge of Spain Field. General Gladden commanded a Louisiana and Alabama brigade. He lived in New Orleans before the war, and he arrives back behind the camera here with his brigade, and there's fog in this field. They can't see. And he gets an order from General Bragg that says, wait for General Chalmers to come up on your right before you advance. Well, Gladden, who fought in the Mexican War, he's an aggressive commander, says, you tell General Bragg I have just as keen a scent for Yankees as General Chalmers does. So he brings his brigade forward, and he rides ahead of them through the fog toward the Union lines back here where you can see the cannons behind me. Can you get that on film? As he gets about this point, the Yankees can see him through the fog, and they open fire with their artillery. And a round strikes his arm and cuts it off at the shoulder, and it's hanging by a piece of skin. So he falls off his horse, and they take a pocket knife, and they finish the amputation right here on the field, and they carry him back to Corinth where he dies. If I'm not mistaken, at the Fish Pond House. I'm pretty sure I read that. At Beauregard's headquarters. Now we're going to have a little fun and ask Pat a trivia question. Out of that Alabama brigade, there was a regiment, if I'm not mistaken, it's the 20th or 21st, out of Mobile. And they've got a sergeant that comes in here with a coin in his pocket. And a bullet actually hits that coin and drives it in his leg. He later becomes a lieutenant and did something famous.
I think you're talking about the commander of the Hunley.
Exactly, George Dixon.
And
he advanced right across this field.
And it was the 21st.
21st.
I'm sure because I have relatives that were in the 20th.
Okay.
And they would have been from Central Alabama.
Yeah, I believe it was the 21st. I believe you're right. But yep, this is it. I knew you'd get it. Told you you'd get it. Pat ain't no dummy. That'll be a good one on YouTube. But yeah, they come across this field, and when they got reports, they're running back, and the Alabama troops are running past Sam Watkins, 1st Tennessee, and Sam Watkins says we were yelling, flicker, flicker, Yellowhammer, flicker, flicker, because of our state bird.
Right.
But that was right here where all that happened at. So Dixon gets it right here. What, you can keep filming, I'll tell you some more. You still filming?
I'm still filming.
Colonel Daniel Weissager Adams takes command of the brigade when Gladden's out, and he leads it forward to the Hornet's Nest, which is about maybe a mile north of here. And they're making these repeated frontal assaults, and he's frustrated, and he's actually shot in the head, and it put one of his eyes out. And they load him into a wagon. I don't know if you're familiar with this story, Pat. He becomes a brigadier general later, but they're carrying him back to Corinth in a wagon, and the guy driving the wagon says, well, this guy's dead. I need to make room for more wounded. So he just takes the guy out and throws him on the side of the road and goes on. Well, there was some Mississippi troops retreating, and they come up on his body, and he's still breathing. So they pack him up and carry him all the way back to Corinth. He survives that wound, becomes a brigadier general. Then he fights at, he goes to fight, I know he fought at Murfreesboro. And then he was wounded and captured at Chickamauga. And Daniel D.H. Hill actually said that you know, the way he was so stoic about his suffering, that he was a great man, you know. But he didn't live very long after the war. He died like 1872. He was a young guy, I think he was about 40 when he died. But
And who are we talking about now?
Daniel Weissager Adams, Louisiana brigade.
Okay.
Wilmward Adams, the Mississippi Cavalry General, was his brother.
Okay, yes.
They're both buried in Jackson, Mississippi in Greenwood Cemetery.
All right.
But now the sad part about it is, and you'd think the SCV would do something, his brother's grave's marked. His grave don't have anything on it. He's buried in a grave beside his brother. There's nothing on it to mark it. Now I don't, you know, that'd be a good project. It looks like
yes,
Mr.
Mr. McClooney.
Mr. McClooney, who is that? SCV,
I think
Mississippi?
I thought that he was the head of Mississippi, and I think
Well,
he's the head of something big.
if you're watching this, Daniel W. Adams needs a Confederate marker on his grave because he has nothing. And me and Pat still think he deserves one.
Amen.
Do it.